Hi everyone, this is Rohan, and in this video I'm going to give you a step-by-step procedure of how to live stream our webinar using YouTube, OBS Studio and Zoom. So let's get started. So, if you have a free account of Zoom, then you are allowed to have an online video meeting where the maximum number of participants is 100, including the host. Similarly, if you have a free account of Google Meet, then the maximum number of participants could be 250, and the same goes for Microsoft Teams. So, if you're planning to have a webinar where the maximum number of participants is more than 250, then it makes perfect sense for you to stream it live on YouTube, because for all practical purposes there is no maximum limit on the number of participants on YouTube. One more great advantage of streaming a webinar on YouTube is that you have a much better control over the participants, because their activities doesn't affect the hosting of the webinar. All right, so what you want to do is basically you want to host the webinar on Zoom and you want to stream it on YouTube. However, in order to do that, what you ought to do is you ought to host the webinar on Zoom. You have to pass it through OBS Studio, and via which you'll be streaming it onto YouTube. So this is going to be the flow chart of what we are going to learn today. I'm going to just show you the procedure of how to do it step by step. But before we jump on to the procedure, let us make some things clear on how this webinar is going to work. The first thing that I want to introduce to you is the host. Now, when I say the host, I don't mean the anchor or the comparer of the webinar. I mean this person is the technical person who is going to run this technical procedure. So for all practical purposes, this is actually you, because you are learning how to host this webinar. The next people into this is the speakers. Now the speakers will include the anchor of the webinar as well as the experts, or rather anybody and everybody who is going to speak during the webinar. And the third number of people would be the audience. Obviously, this is your participants of the webinar. Now, the idea is to keep the audience onto YouTube, where they'll be watching the live stream, they'll be commenting on the live stream. You ought to keep the speakers on the Zoom, where you will be hosting the webinar, and the host will have to be present on OBS Studio as well as YouTube as well as Zoom. So here in this video, I'm going to show you how to run all these three things parallelly. All right, so the first thing is the pre-webinar preparations. That means these are the things to be done a day or two before the webinar. So let's get started. First thing is, the first step is going to be including of YouTube. So the first thing that you ought to do is to log into YouTube, obviously with your username and password. Once you log into YouTube, you have to click on the create icon, which is the plus symbol on the top right, okay, and then you have to select go live. So once you have done that, this window will open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the top half first and then the bottom half next, and I'm going to show you how to fill this form up. Firstly, you have to write a title. Here I have written how to live stream a webinar by Rohan Dasgupta. Here you can write the title of your webinar. Secondly, here you have to select the view settings. There are three view settings from which you have to select. The number one is public. If you keep it at public, that means anybody and everybody on the internet will be able to watch your webinar. When you keep it as unlisted, then only and only those who have the link to your webinar will be able to watch it. And the third view setting is private. In private, only you can see your webinar. Now let me tell you the uses of the three. If you want more and more crowd and it doesn't matter who is attending the webinar, then you should go for a public setting. If you want only the people who have registered for your webinar to be included in the audience, then you have to keep it as unlisted. And for example, if you are wanting to try out how to live stream and all that, and you don't want anybody to see what is going on, then you keep it as private. So I personally like to keep it as unlisted, where only the people who have registered for the webinar will get the link for this webinar. Okay, now the next slot is for the description. So here you write the description for your webinar. Here I have written step-by-step procedure on how to live stream a webinar using YouTube, OBS Studio and Zoom. So whatever is the description of your webinar, you can write it here. And the last one is for the category. Here you have education, music, sports, childcare, whatever. So from there you have to choose whatever category your webinar falls under. Here I have chosen it as education. Now the next part is you have to choose the select for later. As you can see here, you have a toggle switch. You have to toggle it towards the right so that it becomes scheduled for later. Here you have to select the date. Here you have to select the time. Here I have selected 30th June and 11:30 a.m. The next is you have to upload a custom thumbnail here. If you do not upload a custom thumbnail, then it will just show the cover picture of your YouTube channel. However, it is a good practice and it looks professional also if you can upload the poster of your webinar here. Then lastly, you have to choose an audience here. For example, if you are making the webinar for kids, for school kids, then you have to choose it as yes, it's made for kid. For me, I'm making this for, I usually cater to the college crowd. So yeah, it's not, no, it's not made for kids. Once you have done all of this, you have to you have to click on create stream, which is here. So you click here, so it will take you to this window. It will take you to this window. Now here I want you to pay attention to two things. One is this line, which is the stream key, and the second one is this share button. Let me just explore these two a little more in detail. Here, as you can see, I've zoomed onto the stream key. So what you have to do here is you have to copy the stream key and you have to keep it saved in some secured file, maybe in a Word file or in a notepad. Now, why I want you to keep it in a Word and notepad is because if anybody else gets a hold of your stream key, then they can stream anything on your YouTube channel, and that can create a nuisance. So you have to keep this, you have to copy this and you have to save it in some secured file and not share it with anyone. So please take this warning very seriously. Secondly, so what you have to share is basically you have to click on this share button, and when you click on this share button, you have this drop down menu, and this is the YouTube link for the live stream. So you have to copy this and you have to share this with the audience, that means the participants of the webinar. So whoever has registered for your webinar, you can shoot them an email, or if you have formed a WhatsApp group, you can paste this link in the WhatsApp group. Again, a warning: do not paste the previous key. Do not paste the stream key onto WhatsApp or any place. You have to copy paste this link for the live stream. So that's it for YouTube right now. So for the pre-preparation of YouTube, this much is enough. So now let's move on to Zoom. Same, the first step is to just log into Zoom. So however you have your Zoom account, you log into it. Then after logging to it, you have to click on schedule here. So once you click on schedule, this window will open. So again, let me just show a filled window and discuss it. All right, the first thing here is the topic. The topic is the same as the topic that you had put on YouTube. Here it is, how to live stream a webinar by Rohan Dasgupta. Again, the date has to be the same. However, the time that you're scheduling this meeting, I recommend it to be at least 30 seconds before the scheduled time of the webinar. Okay, so we had scheduled the webinar at 11:30, so I am scheduling this meeting at 11. This will give me some buffer time to check on technical faults if there are any on Zoom. Okay, so we will have an half an hour in hand so that we can handle if there are any technical glitches. Next is, I suggest that you set the duration of the meeting to 24 hours. By default, it is actually 40 minutes, but if you don't set it to any other time, your webinar will automatically end in 40 minutes. So just to be safe, I have chosen the maximum number of hours to which a Zoom meeting can go on. So that is 24 hours here. And the next recommendation that I have is to keep the host video as off, because sometimes when you go back and forth from YouTube live to Zoom, then if your video is on Zoom, then you cannot sometimes start the live stream on YouTube. So these three are my recommendations, and I hope you follow it. All right, so after you are done with it, you have to click on schedule. So after you're done scheduling that, you have to return to the Zoom home page and click on meetings. Once you click on that, this scheduled meeting will show up, and from here you have to copy the invitation. So I'll show you. Yeah, so this is how a typical invitation looks like. So you have to copy this invitation and you have to share it with the speakers of the webinar. Again, another warning here, you have to share this link with the speakers or the experts or whoever is going to be hosting the webinar. Okay, a warning is, do not share this invitation with the audience or the participants of the webinar, because you do not want any of the participants on Zoom, you want all the participants on YouTube. So this link has to be shared with only the speakers, the experts and the host, all these people who are related to hosting the webinar. The YouTube link is for the audience. This link will not be shared with the audience. All right. That's it for now for Zoom. So as far as the pre-preparation of the webinar is concerned, this is what you have to do on Zoom. So now let's move to OBS Studio. So if you do not have OBS Studio downloaded yet, then you can easily download it for free from obsproject.com, and based on whatever operating system you are using, you have to download it and you have to simply install it. The installation process is also very simple, no key, nothing, just you have to keep on selecting next, and you have to agree to the terms and conditions, and that's it, you are done installing. Okay, so once you are installed and you open it, this is how your OBS Studio is going to look like. Please note here that this place is still blank. Okay, I'll tell you its significance later. This window when you first open will be blank. So the next step that you have to do is, from sources below, click on the plus symbol. So here you have the sources and here you have the plus symbol. So if you click on this plus symbol, you have this pop-up window coming up, and from here you have to click on display capture. So here you can see you have to click on display capture. So if you click on that, it will open another pop-up window. So here you have to name the display capture. You can just call it display capture. Make sure that make source visible is ticked. Okay, and after you are done this, you can click on OK. Once you're clicked on OK, your screen will start looking like this. This means that OBS Studio has started capturing whatever is there on your screen. And the reason why this is showing like this, it's such a psychedelic effect it is showing, is because it is capturing itself. It is capturing itself. So therefore the screen is looking like this. Now wherever you go, it will capture the screen. If you're hosting it on Zoom, it will capture Zoom. So right now it is capturing itself, so that's why it is looking like this. So the next step is, from controls right below, click on settings. So this is your controls and here you have the settings. So once you click on this, this window opens, and from here you have to click on stream. So here it is. So you have to click on stream. So once you click on stream, you will get this window. So first thing is select service as YouTube/YouTube gaming. So if you click here, you get this menu. From here you have to click YouTube/YouTube gaming. Next is select server as primary YouTube ingest server. So here if you click on the server, you get two options, out of which you have to select primary YouTube ingest server. Now very important step here is input the stream key of YouTube from step number 1.5. Remember, we had copied a stream key and kept it safe in some Word file or some notepad. From there you have to copy it here, and that's it. You have to copy it here. Don't, you can show it to yourself, but do not show it to any other persons. Once you have pasted the stream key here, you can click on OK. So here below you can click on OK. So that's it for OBS also. So this brings us to the end of the pre-preparation. Day or two before the webinar you should complete this process, just to be sure that everything is on line. Now two things need to be shared. One is the link of the YouTube stream has to be shared with the audience, and secondly the link of the Zoom meeting needs to be shared with the speakers. All right, so let's move on to webinar live. That is, what are the things to be done on the day of the webinar? So let's go step by step and see what is to be done. So I typically like to go 45 minutes before going live. I like to start this process because just in case there are any technical glitches, we should have enough time in our hands to fix them. So the first step is to go to OBS Studio and simply click on start streaming. So here you can just simply click on start streaming. Okay, so that's it for OBS Studio. Next is you go to Zoom, then you log into Zoom and you start the scheduled meeting. Once you log into Zoom, you will get to see that this is the scheduled meeting. You have to just click on start. After this, what you have to do is you have to check if the audio is working, if the video is working, and if the screen share is working properly. Now this has to be done for each and every speaker. You have to, and if you have video sharing, sometimes there is a problem of giving permission. So get all of those things sorted now. Okay, so this is the step where you check the audio, video, as well as the screen sharing. Now once this step is done and your Zoom is working properly, then you move on to YouTube. I like to write this step as YouTube plus Zoom, because now you will see we will go a little back and forward from YouTube to Zoom and from Zoom to YouTube. So what you have to do is you have to log into YouTube, you have to click on the plus button, you have to select go live, right? This step we already know from step 1, and then click on manage. Once you go on go live, this window appears. From here you have to click on manage. Once you click on manage, this window will appear, and here you will be able to see the scheduled live event that is you have created before. So what you have to do is you have to click on the title of the scheduled stream. So this is the title of the scheduled stream. You click on it and you will have this screen. Please pay attention. Here are some things which I want to show you here. This here is the preview screen. As you can see here, it will first show can connect streaming software to start preview. This is the first thing that I wanted to show you. Second thing is here you will see there is no data. And third, here you will see that here the go live button is in gray and you will not be able to click on it. After some time, this connection will become excellent connection. This will become green. Still the preview has not come, and therefore the go live is still gray. After some time, you will be able to see the preview here. Of course, the connection is still excellent, and now therefore the go live has become blue, and now you can actually click on it. Now here I would like to tell you that if this doesn't happen, that means you have connected everything, you have followed all the steps, still the preview is not coming, then what you should do is you should do this troubleshooting where you go to OBS Studio, then you stop streaming. We had started streaming, you stop streaming, Then you repeat the steps 3.4 to 3.6. That is what you need to go to the settings, and from there you need to go to stream, and there you need to input the YouTube server and the key, and then again you click on OK, and then you again start streaming. If you do this, it will again after some time you can see the preview here. So this is one troubleshoot. I have heard a few people complain about this step not working. It works for me, but for some people it doesn't work. So in case you do this, it will I guarantee you that it will start working again. All right, so what you have here is you have your Zoom ready, you have your go live ready. So what you have to do is at the given time, that means my time was at 11:30 a.m. So at 11:30 a.m. what I am going to do is I am going to click on go live. I'll click on go live, and after clicking that I'll quickly go to Zoom and I'll make Zoom full screen. I'll make Zoom full screen, and I will conduct the, you will conduct the webinar. Now, during the entire time of the webinar, keep it like this. Do not go back and forth between YouTube, OBS Studio and Zoom. Remember, throughout the webinar, when the webinar is on for an hour or two, whatever, you have to be on Zoom, and that too on full screen mode. That is number one. Number two, if you as a host want to keep on checking whether the stream is going on smoothly or not, you can do it. I suggest you do it from another device. It could be another mobile, or it could be another laptop, but do it from another device. Keep this dedicated to Zoom only. This was number one. Number two, please understand, whatever you do on Zoom right now will be captured by OBS and will be streamed on YouTube. So therefore, I have a few recommendations for you to keep your webinar as professional as possible. The first recommendation is all the speakers, except for the one speaking at the moment, should mute themselves. So this will make sure that the audio is of great quality and no disturbance is there. Number two is that the speakers who are there on Zoom and are not speaking at the moment should not use the chat option on Zoom, that is chatting on text, even if privately, because whatever you chat will start popping up on the window. It will be captured by OBS and it will be shown on YouTube. So avoid doing that. And the last is, I've already told you, the host should not exit the full screen till the end of the seminar. Okay, so these are the three recommendations. If you follow this, your webinar will look very professional. Then the next is, let's say, so you have the webinar has ended. So this is the last slide of the webinar, and the webinar has ended. So as soon as the webinar has ended, you have to head to YouTube and you have to click on end stream. Once you click on end stream, it will ask you, are you sure that you want to end stream? So you have to click on end, and here after you click on end, it will show you stream finished and it will show you this screen. So for now, I'll keep it at this and I'll come back to this later. Then you have to go back again on Zoom, and now the streaming is off. You can have a little informal chat with the speakers and all, and with the permission of everybody, you can end meeting and end meeting for all. So this will end your Zoom meeting as well. And lastly, you should go to OBS Studio and click on stop streaming. So here you have to click on stop streaming. So your YouTube live is off, your Zoom meeting is also ended, and your streaming has also stopped. So this brings us to the end of the webinar live. That means this is the entire process of the webinar live. So this is the crux of actually the entire video. Now, lastly, I would like to give you an input on post webinar. That is, what are the things to be done after the webinar, maybe a few hours later. This is something that most people usually do. So remember, we left our YouTube page at this. So at this point, you have an option to edit your live stream in the studio. So once you click it, edit in studio, it will open in the YouTube studio where you can trim your video. where you can trim your video, as well as you can add some light background music, subtitles, and whatever. So you can make it much more presentable, and then you can click on the details, and you can input the details of the video, and you can upload it as a video on YouTube. That is, if you want to, and if the speakers agree that this can be uploaded later, so you can just upload it for everybody to view it later. So that brings us to the end of this video. This was a step-by-step procedure of how to live stream a webinar using YouTube, Zoom, and OBS Studio. But please remember, none of this will work if you don't follow this final step. Now, in this final step, you have to subscribe to my channel, you have to like this video, and you have to share it with all your friends. Sorry, I was kidding. But if you have any doubts, you can write in the comments below, and I will try to reply to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your time.